What's up YouTube, Capital G here, looking at Shunsuke Hiyama's Blue Eyes World Championship deck. This guy just took Worlds 2016 for Yu-Gi-Oh! And more impressively, he won last year. So this guy actually went back to back, and if I'm not mistaken, he was at Worlds for 2014 too. So if things would have went a little better a couple of years ago, I mean, this dude could be looking at three-peating. He's got a Twitter account, and he ended up posting his entire deck list, main deck and side deck, as well as extra. It ended up on YG Organization, but I want to go ahead and just show you guys the deck, talk about it a little bit, because honestly, when the next ban list drops and a lot of the decks like Monarchs and Burning Abyss are kind of like hit, I expect Blue Eyes to definitely be the meta. So a lot of the monsters are pretty, like, they're pretty standard. I mean, and Blue Eyes variants, you're going to run 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon. You're going to run 3 copies of Alternative. Alternative is just such a playmaking card. Just being able to use the effect, potentially pop a monster, and even though it can't attack, obviously, you have the ability to like XC summon and, you know, use that monster to attack. And then Sage is such a strong card. Sage getting you copies of things like Effect Veiler, which is just going to be staple in Blue Eyes for a very long time because you don't actually have to draw Effect Veiler. It's like pretty weird. It's one of the only decks where you can just like search Effect Veiler straight from your deck. A couple of other things that I did notice, he didn't run Silver's Cry. I mean, Silver's Cry is a pretty good card, but when you're running 3 copies of Return of the Dragon Lords plus Soul Charge, I wonder if Silver's Cry can be like a dead card, because we saw it in the finals. You know, it just was kind of like a dead card, and Blue Eyes can be a deck that kind of bricks. So I think that he built this deck 100% on consistency, and that might be the reason why you see like triple trade in. It's a card that just gets cards out of your hand. That's probably another reason why he didn't run 3 copies of the Dragon Spirit of White, or even 2 copies. It's a really good card, especially if you summon it from the graveyard or if you summon it from the deck, but it's not a great card to actually draw because it's pretty difficult to summon when it's in your hand. You're not really going to tribute summon in Blue Eyes, although the option is definitely there. The main thing is you want to summon this card from like White Stone. Now, you may look at Card of Consonance and think, why is he running 3 copies of that plus 3 trade-ins? It seems like it could be inconsistent, and I think obviously 3 trade-ins, you have a whole lot of targets. Like, you got 7 targets in the main deck. You don't have 7 targets for Card of Consonance, but the thing about Card of Consonance is you have to remember that Master can actually get your stones back from the graveyard. So it's actually more consistent than you think. So let's say early in the game, you may use Card of Consonance on like the White Stone of Legend, and then you draw another Card of Consonance, and obviously you don't have like any other, you know, like Dragon Tuners or whatever to send to the graveyard. If you happen to get Master within like the next turn or so, you can just summon that, you can get that White Stone back, and then you can just pitch the White Stone again. Now, I gotta say, I absolutely loved his trap lineup. I think a lot of people in the OCG should definitely like, or I think we should take this from the OCG when it comes to Blue Eyes. Venus from One Blast is a card that used to be super popular in the GX days, and it was even really popular in Teledat format, and that's just because it outed everything. Like, I know that targeting has been kind of taken out of the game, so like a lot of the good targeting traps aren't nearly as good. Cards like Evac Device and Ring of Destruction, especially one where you're looking at it, you know, it has a discard cost attached to it. But like, Blue Eyes is one of the decks that can, like, you can afford to discard cards a lot in this deck. That's why you run cards like Trade In, and you run Card of Consonance and Twin Twisters and whatnot. It's because if you pitch, you know, like a White Stone, it's going to trigger. If you pitch the Ancient Stone, that's going to trigger too. So like, pitching cards in Blue Eyes isn't really that big of a deal. And this card takes out, like, it handles monsters and it handles back row at the same time. Plus, if you can just get rid of like that one back row, you can lock your opponent out of their draw for the next turn. A lot of times you can just like OTK with Blue Eyes. So yeah, even against Cosmo or Magic Specters, where you may not be able to hit some of their problem monsters like Dart Destroyer and stuff, there's going to be something your opponent is going to play that can be targeted. If it's a Speller Trap, or, you know, if it's like a certain monster that they probably shouldn't have summoned or something like that, there's always going to be something. I also think that Solemn Warning is kind of just like a win condition. I like the concept of him running like 4 traps, no more than like 4. It's kind of like when you see decks that are very explosive, decks that are very offensive, but then you see them run like 4 Solemn cards and that's it for traps. It's like you look at those cards and you just think these cards can win you the game. Like flipping over a Vanity's Emptiness at the right time when you've already made like an Azure Eyes, plus you have a Blue Eyes from it, or you have a Spirit Dragon, plus like another Blue Eyes or like a alternative drag, like that can win you the duel. You know what I mean? A Solemn Judgment at the right time against a Pendulum deck, like it can just win you the duel. If you use it on like an Erebus or a big Monarch summon, like these are cards that can potentially win you the duel in cards like Vanity's Emptiness and cards like Solemn Warning. So it's like, it's really worth the space, to be honest. And then Phoenix with Wind Blast is a card that just covers so much ground. It can just kind of out anything. Now, I did notice that he was running Cyber Dragon Infinity, but he wasn't running Nova, and I'm pretty sure that he plans on using that with XC Universe. There were a couple of like rank 3 decks. There were some Burning Abyss Phantom Knight, so I'm thinking if he ran into that, maybe he planned on using like XC Universe. If your opponent has like a Dante plus like a Levier, those combined ranks are 6, so you could obviously go into like Cyber Dragon Infinity. You'd get rid of their monsters, and if they had something else, then you could just obviously like absorb those, and that would be a good out. And I think that he sided in XC Universe versus Madoche, but he still ended up losing anyway because he kind of had the misplay there. But I'm looking at this build, and it seems extremely solid. The only thing that I don't completely love is the 3 copies of Dragon Shrine. Dragon Shrine is a super duper good card early in the game. Being able to like get a Blue Eyes in the graveyard so that you're set up for like Return of the Dragon Lords is really good. Being able to dump your copy of White Stone so that you can search a Blue Eyes is extremely good. The problem is this card's effectiveness basically goes down every turn exponentially. Like it's really good turn 1, it's okay turn 2, and then it seems like it's just completely meh after that. And running 3 copies means you're probably going to see it within your first couple of turns, which is great, but then after that it kind of becomes dead, which again, if it becomes dead, that's why you have your discard outlets. You have your things like Twin Twister and Phoenix with Wind Blast, so I guess it's not all that bad. This is the one card where if I was building a Blue Eyes, like I would definitely run 1 copy of Dragon Shrine, but I don't think I'd run like more than that, especially when Dark Matter Dragon pretty much is a Blue Eyes, it is a Dragon Shrine kind of like on crack. But this can kind of get you to your early, like it can get you your early cards in the graveyard quickly, and it does set up really nice for Soul Charge, but that's pretty much it. So what do you guys think of this deck? I think that Blue Eyes they're going to be a very, very strong deck in the future. I think that the only thing holding them back is just like PK Fire and a little bit of Monarchs. I actually think they can hang with Monarchs, but the TCG Monarchs where you've got 3 Pantheism, that is a bit of a problem because TCG Monarchs right now are just like so ridiculously consistent. They like always open up with Pantheism. I think this deck could be able to hang with like DDDs when Pendulum Domination comes out and like ABCs and whatnot. So what do you guys think about Blue Eyes? I have another discussion about Worlds as a whole and what the meta could potentially come, but Blue Eyes is definitely a deck for the future. And if you guys don't have this stuff, you better start picking it up now because the deck is getting more expensive. Like a lot of the Blue Eyes cards have actually started going up in price. I've been checking the prices. Cards like Sage are now like almost $25. White Stone is getting up there too. Blue Eye Spirit Dragon is going up, and then if you decide to play a copy of Crystal Wing Single Dragon, this card is like over $40 now. When it came out, I think at like $20. So let me know what you guys think. Congratulations to Shunsuke, and thank you guys for watching. As always, like the video if you enjoyed it, and definitely subscribe if you have not already. Can't believe I'm doing this, but there was actually one more card that I just had to discuss. It's this spicy tech coming out of his side deck, the Fable Catsif. This is a card I would have never even thought about playing in Blue Eyes, but when you look at it, it makes a lot of sense in this deck. I don't think that this is a card that works in many decks. It can obviously work in Fables, but it works really well in Blue Eyes. Fable Catsif is a level 1 tuner. The stats are pretty much irrelevant. It's light, which is the whole reason to play this in this deck. And it says when this card is discarded to the graveyard, select one face-up card on the field, destroy it. So obviously it gives you some monster removal when it's sent to the graveyard. The fact that it is a level 1 light tuner means obviously you can search it out from Sage, so you really only have to run 1 to effectively use the card. And even when you use it once, I mean, because Master just lets you reuse these things, you can actually use it a couple of times. So basically, even though Blue Eyes does have monster removal and spell and trap removal in the form of like these guys, it just gives you a little more, it gives you a little more play. Imagine pitching like Catsif with a Twin Twister, getting rid of like 3 back row. You get rid of like 2 face downs with the Twin Twister, and then you end up popping like a face up Speller Trap, like a field spell. Like that's pretty devastating. That's basically like Feather Duster for 2 cards. You're just basically wrecking all your opponent's like spells and traps, all their defenses at that point. And I think that this card works with the way that Shunsuke built this deck. I think he built this deck around the ideology of never really having dead cards, because if a card is quote unquote dead, I mean, look how many different discard outlets he has that he can just pitch any dead card to. He has like 7 discard outlets. Like obviously you're going to have Melody of the Awakening Dragon. All Blue Eyes versions are going to play that, but then you've got the double Twin Twisters, which are, you know, just good tangible like back row removal, and then you have the Phoenix from One Blast, which can be monster removal, it can be back row removal, it can pretty much handle anything. So there should never really be a time where you have dead cards, and you kind of saw that culminate in the finals where Eric Christensen, I believe, Jerome McHale said he was playing like a 45 build of, or a 45 card build of like Blue Eyes, and he was maxing out on like Silver Scry. And what happened in the finals, like he uber bricked 2 games in a row and got destroyed, and he basically wasn't able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! This doesn't say anything about his skill or anything like that. He's obviously a great player, but maybe his deck just wasn't built as consistent. And you know, like the Fable Catsif, it's pretty good, man. Like obviously it can be searched in the deck, so 1 copy is fine. And then you can just like, you can play a Phoenix with One Blast, you can get rid of a problem monster and then blow up like another monster on the field, and that's really, really good, especially considering you can be locking your opponent out of their like next draw phase too. So this was just a little spicy tech card that I noticed, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting, because it could totally work. I don't know what he decided to end against, but it actually, I think, works in Blue Eyes. Not a lot of decks in the meta, but Blue Eyes is one that it definitely works in.